And perhaps if we defined development by incorporating elements of emotional intelligence, which could bring about peace, then maybe that would be something that would be really, really worth looking forward to. Hello, everyone. How are you? There's a first time for everything. So today I am recording this podcast in a studio for the first time. So let's see how it goes. Today I wanted us to talk about peace. So I started this podcast because I felt like it's important for us to talk about different issues that are affecting us in the world that we live in. And being a development specialist, I could not narrow it down to one specific topic. So that's the reason why I talk about maternity, maternal health, mental health, leadership, and many different issues. So many issues will be discussed in this podcast, not just one specific topic. And today I thought, you know what? What is more important than peace? We need peace in order to do all the other things. So we need peace, and maybe you can tell me that, it's health. Yes, health is also important. Actually, maybe it's more important than peace. Or maybe peace is more important than health. I'll let you decide there. In any case, they are both important. And I thought today I will use this opportunity to talk about peace. We need peace. We need peace. And we cannot stress that enough. With peace, there's prosperity. With peace, there's social cohesion. With peace, there is an opportunity and room for growth. With peace, we have the space to think and to explore many things that we want to explore. So we need peace in this world. I always look at the news and I wonder why things are happening the way that they are happening. I wonder why, as human beings, we have not decided to use peace as the main issue that we need to achieve. So we talk about power, we talk about influence, we talk about all sorts of things and economic prosperity or development. But I think it would be really good if we defined development as something that englobes peace, basically. So we talk about, developed countries, so-called developed countries, so-called undeveloped countries, or developing countries, I don't like those terms because to me they suggest that there are some countries that are already developed, that have already reached the highest state that we are looking for in terms of development, whereas there are other countries that have not reached that stage. And that's how I see it. But I don't think that's right. I think all countries are developing. I don't think there will ever be a country that is completely or fully developed, because once we reach the stage of full development and then there is no opportunity for growth anymore, then it means we've stopped. There's stagnation and there's nothing to look forward to in terms of development and in terms of growing, in terms of doing all other things. So development really is all about, for me, it's an ongoing process. So we cannot call a country a developed country for that reason. There's also another reason. And that reason to me is that if we call a country developed and another one developing or underdeveloped, what do we mean by that? Who set the rules? Who says that this country is developed and the other one is not? And if you look at those criteria, we have to then understand that there are elements of power, elements of privilege in those criteria. Because who has the ownership of making that definition? Who defined the term development? Who defined, who gave the notes or the points, to one country and said, you've scored enough to be called a developed country, or the other one, you've not scored enough to be called developed, so we are going to call you a developing country. Again, all countries to me are countries that are developing. It seems like development is defined in terms of, economic advancement, or sometimes, how many skyscrapers there are in such and such country, or how maybe some systems are developed. But we forget to look at emotional intelligence. And perhaps if we defined development by incorporating elements of emotional intelligence, which could bring about peace, then maybe that would be something that would be really, really worth looking forward to. Because then we know that we are all developing towards better emotionally intelligent societies, towards a better world. And that, in order to achieve that mission or that goal, yes, we need to free ourselves from many shackles. We need to learn. We need to develop peace. We need to ensure that there is an advancement in different spheres of our societies. So really, there are many issues to be incorporated there. So I think in a nutshell, what I really wanted to say today in terms of development is that we need to change the narrative. We need to start defining it not in financial terms, but perhaps in social terms, perhaps and by that I don't mean if one culture is more advanced than the other, because there is no such thing. All cultures are valued. I think every culture has its own merits. And that's the beauty of globalization, is the fact that the world is such a diverse space that it's beautiful to just look at that diversity and embrace it, use it as a means to grow, so a means of growth, not something that is divisive or brings about conflicts. So yes, that is, I think, how we should be defining development in terms of emotional intelligence, not power or financial means. And now coming back to the term peace. I mean, let's look at the news. Let's look at what's happening around us. We cannot ignore the fact that there are wars and unnecessary conflicts in many parts of the world. It needs to stop. We don't need this as human beings. We really don't. We don't. We need to be kind to one another. We need to love one another. We need to want for other people what we want for ourselves. We see people fighting for pieces of land. I've never seen anyone who's gone to their grave with a piece of land. None of us will take that to the grave. Or some people fight for different issues, and we need to stop that. We need to stop that. We need to, again, I think we need to all undertake an introspection, maybe a global introspection, and look at where we are in terms of, in 2025, where are we? What are we doing? What are our priorities? We've looked at history, and when negative parts of history are no longer confined to that space, then our present is difficult to comprehend. And what do we even say about our future? We looked at many negative historical events and we said, never again. Never again. And that was a beautiful message. But it seems that some things keep happening. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't. When one person is hungry, we need to help that person. When one person is sad, we need to help that person. When one person is not feeling well, we need to help that person. And that should be the way that we should all be acting in this world. Humanity is beautiful. Humanness is amazing. We are all human beings first. That's what we need to remember. That's what we need to remember. And in this life, we are only here for a brief moment. Let's make that moment count. Let's leave beautiful memories. Let's make this world beautiful right now for us, but also for the people who will come after us. Think again. There is no need to fight. There is no need to hurt people. May peace prevail. May love prevail. May compassion and kindness prevail. Look at us. We are so vulnerable, so fragile. Yet I refuse to think that there is no humanness and kindness in any human being. Everyone has at least an ounce of kindness. I want to believe. And for those who are involved in these conflicts and wars, and for those who are doing things that can never be justified, or who are not really acting in a way that goes with what human beings are made for, then please, I'm asking you again to reconsider, to look at yourself again in the mirror. Maybe you don't need a mirror. Maybe you just need to sit down and reflect. You don't need this. When someone cries, we need to help that person. When someone is hungry, we need to help that person. We cannot let mothers, babies, fathers, families, whole families cry, go hungry, be hurt over and over and over again and not say anything or not do anything. We have all been created as equal human beings. Our actions define many things. Let's prioritize good actions over not so good ones. Let's open our hearts. There is in that piece of flesh a space that is reserved for others. Open it up. Be kind, be welcoming, be generous. Be human. Because when you act in the opposite way, that's not you being, acting in the inherent way in which we've been created. There's so much goodness in us. Let's let that out. Let's make it our mission to be kind. I know I hear it all the time. It's all about a utopian dream. I just talk about these things and they just seem like, so they're just confined in that utopia that I live in, or maybe I'm in a bubble. And so what? Maybe we could all go into that bubble. There are many kind people out there. And I believe that everyone has kindness in them. Let's be kind. Let's be gentle with one another. Let's love one another. And then let's see what happens after that. There will be so much room for development, so much room for advancement, technological advancement, financial, success, and all these things. But we cannot think about all these things if humans are hurting somewhere, if humans are crying owing to some injustices being done to them. We can't turn a blind eye. We have to be kind. We have to be generous. Think about it. Be human. Be you. Be kind. Thank you.